The freedom to act unjustly without fear of retribution would be most easily realized if both people had the power they say the ancestor of Gyges of Lydia possessed. The story goes that he was a shepherd in the service of the ruler of Lydia. There was a violent thunderstorm, and an earthquake broke open the ground and created a chasm at the place where he was tending his sheep. Seeing this, he was filled with amazement and went down into it. And there, in addition to many other wonders of which we are told, he saw a hollow bronze horse. There were window-like openings in it, and, peeping in, he saw a corpse which seemed to be of more than human size, wearing nothing but a gold ring on its finger. He took the ring and came out of the chasm. He wore the ring at the usual monthly meeting that reported to the king on the state of the flocks. And as he was sitting among the others, he happened to turn the setting of the ring towards himself to the inside of his hand. When he did this, he became invisible to those sitting near him, and they went on talking as if he had gone. He wondered at this, and, fingering the ring, he turned the setting outwards again and became visible. So he experimented with the ring to test whether it indeed had this power, and it did. If he turned the setting inward, he became invisible. If he turned it outward, he became visible again. When he realized this, he at once arranged to become one of the messengers sent to report to the king. And when he arrived there, he seduced the king's wife, attacked the king with her help, killed him, and took over the kingdom. This story, known as the myth of Gyges, comes from the second book in Plato's Republic. It is introduced in a dialogue between Socrates and a character named Glaucon. Socrates and Glaucon had previously been exploring questions about the nature of justice. Socrates claimed that justice is among the highest goods, since it is valued both because of itself and because of what comes from it. Glaucon argues against this view and claims that to do justice without paying the penalty is actually better than acting justly. However, the worst situation is one in which someone suffers injustice without being able to take revenge. As such, Glaucon says that people value justice not as a good, but because they are too weak to do injustice with impunity. Therefore, justice is not both intrinsically and extrinsically valuable, as Socrates claimed. It is onerous but beneficial to us, so that we wouldn't choose it for its own sake, but for the sake of rewards and other things that come from acting justly. By way of example, Glaucon presents the myth of Gyges. Glaucon thinks that if there were two magical rings, and we were to give one to a just person and the other to an unjust person, both people would end up acting in the same way, that is, in an unjust manner. Glaucon believes that this myth is a great proof that one is never just willingly, but only when compelled to be. Furthermore, he anticipates a possible objection by arguing that if a person were given such a ring and failed to act unjustly, we would secretly consider them to be foolish in passing up such an opportunity, though we might still publicly praise this person's actions. The myth of Gyges is significant because it raises the question of whether justice can truly be valued in and of itself, and if it is better to act justly than it is to act unjustly. These are questions that Plato attempts to answer in the remaining 200 pages of the Republic. The myth of Gyges also forces Socrates to defend his claim that the just person is happier than the unjust person, since Glaucon's story seems to suggest that it's actually in your own self-interest to act in an unjust manner. As such, the myth of Gyges plays a significant role in posing some important questions in the Republic about the nature and value of justice. There has been some interesting secondary literature on the myth of Gyges that raises thought-provoking questions about Glaucon's story. One striking example can be found in a chapter titled Manliness and Tyranny from Michael S. Cochin's book, Gender and Rhetoric in Plato's Political Thought. This chapter essentially asks the following question: why did Gyges make himself king of the land? Cochin writes, the protagonist's motives in Glaucon's myth seem oddly mixed. His first desire is to sleep with the queen, and only after he has plotted with her does he seek to usurp the king's power in addition to his wife. Yet why would someone who in virtue of his invisibility was equal to a god seek to rule among men? For the man possessing the ring of Gyges, it is possible to take what he wishes from the market without fear, and going into others' houses to have intercourse with whomever he wishes, and to kill and free from bonds whomever he wishes. An invisible man could take whatever he pleases without putting on the yoke of office. If the hero of Glaucon's tale wanted to be king, ruling itself must satisfy some desire of his that simple taking could not. Glaucon's anthropology thus includes some sort of desire for recognition, for being visibly honored, that is different from the merely material lust that Thrasymachus has described. In conclusion, the myth of Gyges seems to be summarized most efficiently in a quotation from John Dahlberg Acton, who says that power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men.